All right, we're here with Andrew Felix of One Plant, the Events and Community Outreach Director. And very cool thing, and it seems to be a theme here at One Plant, is cannabis runs in your family as well, too.
Yeah, cannabis has been in my family for, we're going on seven years now. We started with the newspaper, Cannabis News Florida, where I started that. My father started, and then I took it over, and we grew it from a section in his existing newspaper, which was South Florida Hospital News, to something that's now, I think, up to 25 pages in the newspaper. So it really started as a couple paragraphs up to 25 pages in the paper now.
Very cool. That's awesome. And Charles was nice enough to produce our first show, so if you can see the production quality of this episode has deteriorated a little bit, that's because we lost our producer, and I know that you guys do this as well too. So you started with Cannabis News Florida, and you did a lot of what we're doing here today, interviewing and finding out and getting the word out, educating people about cannabis, and more specifically the medical side of cannabis, which is what I love. How did you parlay that into what you do at One Plant today?
Well, I went in, and what I did was basically create a newspaper to educate the community, educate the state of Florida, and was at events, was at doctors' offices, was at trade shows, educating the masses, educating doctors, educating patients. And then when I've known Brady for years, when he was going to launch Three Boys Farm and One Plant, he asked me to come over and kind of take that role into an MMTC and bring that into exactly the same thing I was doing there into here.
Very cool. So as I understand it, you travel around the state at least, going to different events, but you're not just going saying, hey, here's 25% off, this, that, and the other. You're actually educating people on the plant itself.
Correct. So yeah, when we go to an event, it's not just the idea of saying, here's a coupon, or try our flower, or go to our store and buy it. It's my whole mentality has always been, you educate somebody, you don't sell somebody. So what does that mean? I'm going to educate somebody to the T of exactly what cannabis is, how to take cannabis, what cannabis is going to do for you, and then in the end, they're going to go on their own and actually try it, buy it, and use it, and then they're going to turn back and remember exactly how they learned about it, and that's where the One Plant's going to come back into play.
Very cool. So do you go around and just do this at the existing cannabis events? Have you guys done your own events to bring people in, educational events? What's really the strategy here?
Our goal is we'll focus on the mainstream cannabis events that are throughout the year. But our main focus is, in the cannabis events, you've got a lot of the same people at each one of them. So there's really no education needed at it. We'll go just to, show face and be able to say, hey, we're still here, because there's a lot of dispensaries that disappeared off of the face at a lot of cannabis events, and a lot of people right away went, maybe they're not around, maybe they're going out of business. So we'll stay at those. But my mentality is, the idea is we're going to go, everybody else is going right, we're going to go left. And what I mean by that is we're going to go to those home shows, we're going to go to those boat shows, we're going to go to those festivals, the fairs, the carnivals, where those people that are coming up want to learn about cannabis, but those people aren't going to go to cannabis events.
Yeah.
It's just not what they're going to do. But they're going to go to that home show because maybe they need to remodel their roof, happen to see our booth and go, you know what, I've been meaning to learn more about it, so we're going to come and educate them on that. They're going to feel more comfortable because it's their element. If you see, you're not going to see 75, 80-year-olds walking into a cannabis event. They're going to walk into that home or boat show, maybe because they own one, and they're going to want to figure out a different way of doing it, so they're going to come see us.
That's awesome. And so I follow you on social media, and recently I saw that you were in Orlando at the Home and Garden Show, which to me was really interesting and I thought was really cool. So me personally, I work in the tech space, and I can tell you when I go to it, not a cannabis-focused event, but a tech-focused event, and people find out that we're in cannabis, I feel like the popular kid in school, right? Everyone wants to talk to me and figure that out, but you're in a different scenario because, listen, tech and cannabis have gone hand in hand for decades. What was it like being at the Home and Garden Show, being a cannabis company? Were you guys received well? Were there people that kind of gave you the stink eye? Or were you the most popular kid in class there?
I would say we're probably the most popular kid in class. But what I mean by that is it took a little bit the first day for kind of some people were kind of walking around looking. The advantage we did have at the Home and Garden Show was when they saw One Plant, they thought we were a plant supplier. So it kind of drove them to the booth to start with. But when they got there in our booth, and my big thing, and I deal a lot with our director of creative marketing, Chris Rice, on the idea of how to brand our stuff the best possible way. When we brand the booth, we make sure that we use our logos, we use our crystal and the leaf and so forth, and all that things. And when people were coming up to the booth, they saw the leaf and kind of were like, huh. And at first they were like, wait, you're selling cannabis plants? We could buy cannabis plants? I was like, no, but we're educating you. But the biggest thing about it was I can say comfortably that I've been to a lot of events since One Plant's really come to fruition back in August, when we were starting to really put it out. Our first show, I think, was in September or 1st of October. From those shows until the home show, the amount of people we talked to and saw when we were at the Orlando home show was triple the amount of all those shows.
That's incredible.
We actually talked about and talked to at the home show. So we had 4 or 5 deep at the booth at all. Most of the time, we had Dr. Ferentz, our medical director there, so he was able to talk to a lot of patients. We had a lot of patients come up to us, medical marijuana patients, that were like, "Wow, you guys are here? Great. Haven't heard of One Plant, but you know what? Hey, now I do. I'll reach out to you guys."
That's awesome. And like I said, I told Brady earlier, I'm a huge fan of you guys, mainly because of what he does, what he's done, what you've done, and then to find out that you're also the one behind the logos, man, that's incredible.
I can't take all the credit in the world for the logo. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, Chris, we spent a lot of our time sitting and designing what we're going to put out there, how we're going to put it out there, and we're not the typical, we're just going to throw something on a hat or throw something on a t-shirt and say, here you go, have it. We're not going to give you the inexpensive, the giveaway shirt. The giveaway shirt that we're giving away is usually what people are selling in stores.
Yeah. No BTTs.
We take pride in what we want to put out there. Our goal is to put something out there that people are going to want to wear. I mean, I don't want a shirt. I hate when I go to an event and I get a shirt that I know I look at and I go, I'm going to paint my house in that.
Yep.
Or I'm going to wear that to wash my car. Or I'm going to cut into rags to wash my car with it. We want something that people are going to wear. They like it. It's stylish. It's fashionable. It's edgy. So that's really what we sit and pride ourselves on. And then when I design trade show booths or booths that people are going to come up to, or banners or flags, I make sure that it really pops. You've got one chance to make an impression at a trade show.
Yeah, you accomplished your goal. So I am a self-proclaimed, I don't wear swag. I've gotten to a point where I don't even take it anymore. I've got a ton of One Plant stuff. I've got the Boynton Beach shirt. I've got the breast cancer shirt. This hat does not leave the top of my head, especially because of my hairline. So thank you very much for doing that. I think it's been incredible. And really where I want to go with you here now is because part of your job is educating people on the plant. Your dad and part of the reason why I wanted to interview you so much is your dad had told me that you had a story where cannabis essentially saved your life,
100%,
right?
yeah.
So I would love for you to tell us, I wanted to ask you to educate us on the plant a little bit, but I think it's going to be more interesting if you tell us the story and talk about how it did that to educate us on the plant.
Yeah, I won't sit and say that I can educate somebody fully on a plant. We have people that are medical directors and so forth that dive in a lot deeper than I do and know. But yeah, the 100% can admit and say that cannabis saved my life probably 4.5, 5 years ago. I was doing marketing and PR for a company out of Miami. Mm-hmm. And for the past 10 years, I've been prone to blood clots. So I've had over 60-something blood clots in my legs. And the only solution to blood clots was the idea that I had a lot of pain. So as soon as I had pain and swelling, I would go into the hospital. I'd go into the ER, and I'd spend a week and a half in the ER. And they would pump me full of heparin, and they'd pump me full of opioids. There was points that I was on 4 or 5 milligrams of Dilaudid every 4 hours.
Wow.
Up to a morphine pump that did absolutely nothing. Up to Oxy, every 2 hours.
And it's amazing you didn't develop an addiction to this
Well,
stuff,
and then I went from that all the way up to fentanyl. So the only thing that was able to keep me okay was patches of 100 milligrams or more of fentanyl. And I got acquainted to that. Like, I didn't know life without it. Mm-hmm. So when I finally was getting better, and it took me about 2 months to wean off of the fentanyl patches, I was realizing that the only thing that was keeping me okay was Dilaudid. So I was taking Dilaudid every single day, every 4 hours, and hardly functioning. And then I would and then I would actually go from there to trying to understand how I would function in life. And I was like, I can't. So I actually went to my first ever cannabis event, which was a C-Lab event.
Okay.
It was in the Bonaventure, and my dad had a table there, and he had his newspaper, South Florida Hospital News, and I think at that point he only had a couple paragraphs or a section of Cannabis News Florida. Really wasn't much. Uh-huh. People really didn't know what it was, and I remember sitting there. He asked me to come help him. Because he needs some help setting up the table, and I was like, "Where are you going?" He's going, "We're going to this cannabis thing." I'm like, "What? Really?" Like, I was like, "Really? What are you talking about?" And I never in my life have I done it, never thought about it. And he said he was going to. I was like, "Excuse me." He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to. You need to come." I was like, "Dad, I'm not going to this. I just no." So I went with him, and at that point, I actually met, and I think everybody knows Daniel and Stephanie Sparks. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Daniel and Stephanie actually said to me, "Hey, you should try some CBD." And I was like, no, I'm good. I said, I've got my opioids. I got all this. I'm good. I don't need that stuff. She goes, no, just try it. I said, no, I'm good. So I went home, and it was I think it was a Friday, and I knew I had nothing to do that weekend. I said, you know what? She gave me the predisposed syringes of CBD.
Okay.
I said, you know what? Let me try it. Let me just try it. Saturday, I was like, I got nothing to do. So I put down the sublingual under my tongue, and 45 minutes later, my legs, because I was up all day, were hurting. The pain was kind of gone. It was subsiding and so forth. And my mind went to, I don't need to take my pain pills. I already took them. Like I already took my Oxy. I'm good to go.
Wow.
And then I realized, no, I didn't take one. I taken the CBD. And I realized, wait a second, that really worked. So I was like, maybe it's mental, placebo.
Yeah.
So I went and saw my dad the next day, and he was complaining about his back hurting. He said, you know what? Try this. I had another one. Mm-hmm. He tried it. I think it was like an hour and a half after that. His pain in his back was gone.
Wow.
And I went, there's something here. And he, right after that, went out to a vape store, bought a 1,500 milligram bottle of CBD. And I can tell you from that day, and I'm going, I want to say it's 3.5 years now, maybe 4, August will be 4, that I have not taken an opioid. I have not taken a Tylenol, pain medicine, cold medicine, nothing. I don't take anything at all in my body except for CBD or medical cannabis.
Now, was this pure CBD, a hemp extract, or was it like a 1-to-1? Or?
It was pure CBD.
Wow.
It had no medical cannabis in it to it. In fact, I think it had 0 THC period in it. And from that point on, I take CBD every single morning. And when I'm in a lot of pain or I need it, I'll take medical. But other than that, it's mostly CBD.
That's incredible. And really, that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, is to find people like you who had no experience with cannabis before, but all of a sudden you interact with it and it really changed your life. And now you want to go and advocate for it and help everybody else.
And that's why I started and continued the newspaper, because I said to myself, how can I tell people what it did for me? And the easiest way was create a newspaper that they could read every single day. And that's where Cannabis News Florida really came from.
That's awesome. Well, I love what you do personally. I really do think it's incredible. It's not just something I'm saying. I love bringing attention to the medical side of this, especially when it has to do with opiates, right? Mm-hmm. It's no secret that there's a huge opiate crisis in our country. My wife actually is an addiction counselor, so that is something that's near and dear to my heart. And to see CBD alone, not even CBD with THC, having that effect on you, and now you don't take opiates whatsoever, is absolutely incredible. Do you think going forward that cannabis in either form, THC or CBD, is our number one tool to fight the opiate crisis in this country?
My saying in that would be yes. I would say CBD or medical marijuana or medical cannabis, however you want to put it, is going to be the answer. The biggest issue we have right now is breaking the stigma. And I say it every single day when I talk to somebody. Somebody's like, oh, CBD, I've heard about it. Yeah, I'm not going to try it. Why? And then I always say to them, why? Tell me why. And they're like, oh, it's just not. I'm like, why? And I keep going with it. Why? Yeah. You got to give me about. I'm allergic to it. What are you allergic to? Like, you gotta really get into somebody. And if you dial down deep, it's the idea that they're afraid that it's got medical cannabis or marijuana inside of it, and they're gonna fail the drug test at work. That's it. That's come down to it. That's what people tell me.
Which is, well, at least the government's putting it into perspective now, and there's a lot of states that are passing a ban on that,
right,
which is really cool. So, Andrew, I want more people to hear your story. I want more people to find you. You're doing a great job educating everybody. Do you have some events coming up that you'd like to plug, anywhere you're going to be?
I think our next big one for one plant is going to be at FMCC, which is the Florida Medical Cannabis Conference in Orlando. And then in between that, there'll be some home shows and so forth. We're actually looking at the idea of going to some spring training.
Oh, very cool.
Activations throughout
you can use
Florida.
it in the MLB now. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I will tell you this. I've spoken to 4 or 5 of the spring training camps, and they're not open yet to the idea of us coming. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, we got to do the whole grassroots campaign into it of the flyers in the cars or sit up at a tailgate with a tent and just do it on our own. But to be an actual activation with them, they're not there yet.
Okay.
And I think it's going to take a full year for them to realize it, but it's like I said, it's still the stigma.
Very cool. Well, check out Andrew on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, anywhere you can find him. It's always fun to follow you around the state, educating people. Really appreciate your time, man.
Thanks
for joining us.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Take care.